Small and medium-sized businesses, they've achieved a certain level of success, but they don't know how to take it to the next level.
Welcome to BuzzFeed Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Berry, and today we have a powerhouse of a marketer joining us. She's helped businesses looking to grow, but don't have that complete grasp on their marketing campaign and ideologies. If hiring a chief marketing officer or CMO is out of your budget, she can help. This guest is perfect for being in that situation. From working with Fortune 100 companies to small mom and pop shops, Kari Franz from the Bridget Marketing Service has developed successful marketing and advertising campaigns that fit your needs as a business within your budget. Thank you, Carrie, so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Kyle. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Super excited. We have to talk a little bit before camera about what you're doing. And it gets me pumped up to know how much passion you really have for your industry and kind of where you stand in helping people in your world. So could you start off by giving me just like a 90-second overview of your business and how it was started and what the goal is of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked at some amazing companies here in the U.S. I have a really strong background in financial services. I've been at large banks. I've been at Discover Card. I've been at Charles Schwab. I've been at Russell Investments, and I was a CMO of a wealth management firm. I've also worked in technology. I work in the Bay Area. So I've been at Google Cloud and Adobe, and I've been the fractional CMO of some software startups as well. And I bring all that knowledge of 30, decades of being in marketing at some of these amazing companies with amazing resources to smaller businesses now. And it's my passion to help small to mid-sized businesses just skyrocket their growth by having a really, tight-knit, specifically created marketing strategy for their company that really comes out of their business goals. And I stay around to implement it, which is a differentiator for me as well. So I have a host of partners in different areas of marketing that if my clients need support, they don't like the agency they're working with, or I'm recommending they go into some new marketing tactics, I have some proven partners that I work with globally that are a fraction of the cost of US providers, but I won't compromise quality. So I really try and stretch my client's marketing budget as effectively as I can.
Okay, I love that. I mean, just the combination of being there to really understand their business, being in a position where you understand their goals, their needs, their desires, and then being able to put a game plan together that you don't just pass off and say, hey, here's my recommendation, but you actually hold their hand in that process of finding success and then doing the smartest thing that you can possible, which is leveraging the balance of, I'm assuming, the US and overseas employees to reduce that overall cost and make sure that you're executing on their goals. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask, what is the biggest problem you see in that industry? And you yourself, how are you trying to solve that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for small and medium-sized businesses, they've achieved a certain level of success, but they don't know how to take it to the next level. And that's how I help them. I come in and I analyze their business. I really understand what their goals are for the next 2 years and then develop a marketing plan to help them get there. And in most cases, if I'm in a B2B situation, I'm also leveraging and understanding what they're doing from a sales perspective and how marketing and sales are collaborating so that the company gets the best results.
It's crazy how that doesn't happen all the time, right? The lack of collaboration between marketing and sales.
In some cases, they kind of don't really understand each other, or they compete. They don't talk the same language. And it's not a true partnership, and that's a shame because we're all on the same team, and we need to be able to communicate effectively and make sure that the leads that we're unearthing and sending to sales are really being followed up upon, and that we're both being rewarded, for working as a team and making sure that the pipeline is efficient, moving quickly, and that the leads are being closed and serviced once they actually become a customer.
And that's really you in that position of that fractional CMO/CMO position of taking that 10,000 foot overview and understanding the true essence of the entire business. So I love that. Can we get a little bit more granular about who your ideal customer is and who you're really hands-on with?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I have a really strong background in financial services and in technology. So I really focus, the bullseye for me are FinTech companies and registered investment advisory, wealth management firms, financial advisors that want to grow their businesses. Because I know that industry so well. So that's really the bullseye of who I'm looking after. Medium-sized revenue, I would say between $5 and $50 million. But I've also helped startups, that are just beginning. And, it was a company of one, a software company that needed support and really, just boosting their marketing presence. And I've had tremendous success with companies like that. But I'm open for business. I've done franchises that are just starting up. I've done large restaurant groups. I've done large medical groups and the like. So any mid-sized company that really wants to catapult their growth and they don't really know how to do it, or they've only really looked at a few marketing channels and tactics, they need to get to the next level in revenue. That's how I can help. I can help them look at the whole perspective, the whole of all the marketing and sales things that we can do to help grow their business.
Bringing the full picture together, the omni-channel approach, the service lines of supporting with email. I'm going to ask the question a little off the cuff here because you have me interested. With your expertise in the financial space, how important is it that someone that's looking for either a fractional CMO or looking for marketers to help them to be working with someone that understands the compliance around that space specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the crux of it. That's where I think it differentiate you as a professional, because my goodness, the financial service industry is so highly regulated, and there are, as it should be. This is people's life savings that you are, hopefully helping them to grow, and you want to be sure that you have a good relationship with your compliance officer, so that anything that is being created isn't over-promising. It never should do that. And you only have so much that you can talk about and represent, even in visual images, in the financial services space, because you don't want to insinuate that your products are going to, always make money, because you can't guarantee that. But you have to explain it in a way that, people can understand, and also draw them to work with this business, because their whole mantra is to help, investors make money. So it's definitely in some ways an art of making sure that you can explain sometimes very complex financial instruments and products in a way that people can understand. And in a way that is ethical.
Putting it down in layman's terms. And that's so important, especially in a marketing position where you're helping them outreach into multiple different outlets and multiple different ways of communication to understand the compliance around each one of those sectors, what you can and can't say. If you're out there and you're in the FinTech space and you're listening to this right now, make sure you're double checking on that anybody that you work with is like Kari here, and making sure that she is developed in an understanding of the compliance that's around it. It's so important, so important. You can get in some serious trouble if you don't. So outside of the understanding the compliance and really understanding everything from A to Z in that category and being in that realm, can you give me a little bit of your unique selling factors or your unique selling proposition of your business, how you're unique in that market and how you help achieve these outcomes that you're getting for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the challenges in the FinTech or the wealth management space is just differentiating yourself from all the competition, right? It's pretty difficult for the end investor to understand what makes your company unique. And I think that's one of my marketing superpowers, is to develop what is that value proposition? What makes your company unique? Why should an investor want to do business with you or investigate what makes your company different? And that's, it all kind of starts there, as really developing that value proposition. And once you have that, that can then translate into very effective marketing campaigns. That can translate into, great presentation decks that your sales team is going to use to find new clientele. It's going to help financial advisors talk to the end user because they need to be always looking for new investors to be part of their business, right? So that they can manage their money. So it really starts with trying to differentiate yourself from the competition and developing a brand that just oozes trust.
I
Oozes
love going back to the core, right? No fancy gimmicks, no fancy call outs, no crazy hooks, but understanding the business at their core and making sure that you highlight the individuality that comes from the creation of that business compared to another, and leaning into that, bringing in that empathy factor, bringing in that true understanding that it's there to help and give a service, but this is how they do it differently, and leaning into that. I think that is incredible. Let me ask you this, the industry, especially your industry, is evolving. Personally, I've worked with Wells Fargo FAs in the past, and the restrictions that they have there compared to some of the public or open-based FAs that are under a roof like Wells Fargo. And I've noticed that there's a vast difference in the what they can execute, their opportunities, what platforms they're allowed to use. Where do you see the entire industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? And how are you personally staying on top of these changes?
I think in the next, 5 to 10 years, maybe even 15 years, what's really happening in the US is that it's the largest transfer of wealth that this country has ever seen. So it's moving from boomers, right, that generation of wealth, and transferring it down to, in some cases, Gen X, but really millennials. And the challenge for financial advisors and in FinTech, depending on the business, is to keep that relationship in place, right? You're the financial advisor that was managing, let's say, the parents' money, right? And has taken care of them for the last maybe 20 years, as that wealth is transferred to their son or daughter who's a millennial, trying to keep that relationship healthy. And so that millennial doesn't switch to a different financial advisor. So they really need to do some work to understand a whole new generation of consumer. Boomers and millennials, very different people. Mm-hmm. And the way they consume information is very different. The way what their investing priorities are is very different. Millennials, you'll see studies, they want companies that are investing in the environment, and that have a real heart to their investing, mm-hmm. right? That they want to put their dollars with companies that are making a difference in society. So those financial advisors have to really educate themselves on what makes millennials tick, so that they can keep that relationship when the money transfers to their heirs.
That's such a big factor. I mean, it's the biggest movement of wealth ever, I believe, correct? So, I mean, it's such a huge factor. Do you have any recommendations, say platforms or communication styles that you're asking these FAs to move into now? Because obviously, as you said, when the wealth gets passed from the parent, who most likely found their financial advisor through the newspaper or the yellow pages, gets passed on to the child, where they're spending 90% of their time on TikTok and YouTube. Are you giving any recommendations of how to restructure the mindset of your FAs and what platforms they should be kind of leaning into?
Yeah, I think, boomers, definitely a lot of it was through relationships, and they would get recommendations. So that FA's personal relationships were very important. But millennials do consume a lot through electronic technology, right? I think that LinkedIn is definitely the platform for business. And I think you can be doing some outreach there and, doing some real work with whether it's LinkedIn Live events or webinars to try and catch millennials where they're hanging out, right? I think that maybe some advertising or a social presence, I wouldn't recommend TikTok. I don't think that's the place to be for a financial advisor. But I could see maybe some YouTube videos, because it also helps with their SEO of their own firm's site. I could see some webinars that you would post on YouTube and the like. But a lot of it I still think is in person. I do think that the conversations need to be had between the boomer parents and the millennials and the financial advisor. Maybe there's even times that they all meet together so that the financial advisor is kind of building relationship, imparting their wisdom, looking at what the younger generation, those millennials, what their goals are, and, reinforcing to them that they can still do business and can represent what they need and want, even though their parents' investing style, risk tolerance, what investments they put their money in might be vastly different from that younger generation. They really need to do the effort to keep the younger generation as clients.
I love the concept of the meeting of the parents, the financial advisor, and the child, and kind of bringing it all together. I think that's a great concept. And they always say that when it comes to social media and today, that you have three aspects that can get you success, and that's education, entertainment, or inspiration. And you, in the FA space, you have two of those factors. You can have entertainment, but I don't know how relevant it really is.
Probably not so much entertainment.
Right? But education and inspiration to inspire to be wealthy, to inspire to have a good retirement, to inspire to be comfortable in your older age because you set up today. And then the education where, I personally am 30 years old and I've done my studying, but it took a lot of education to understand what financial advisors would do for me and how it actually helps. And I don't think many of the younger generation really understand how granular these individuals get to find success. So
yeah,
I love
absolutely. I think the other thing that I wanted to mention, Kyle, is that the financial advisor needs to meet that younger client where they are.
Yes.
So if they are open to have a meeting over Zoom, like we're having this podcast, by all means do it. Get on an online meeting. That would be helpful instead of maybe in the past. I've seen in many studies that as people's wealth build, they want to have more face-to-face interaction. Mm-hmm. But your younger generation is used to not having that. So if an online conversation makes it easier for them because their lives are so busy, by all means do that. If this younger generation is texting you, don't call them back, text them back. You've got to meet them where they are and where they feel comfortable and heard.
Love that. Meet the customer where they are. 110%. I love that, Carrie. Let me ask the difficult question. This is the only hard question I really have on my list, but I love to know because I feel like the trials and tribulations that we have in our life really define who we are as we go through our ages. But what's the biggest failure or challenge you face at this point in your life, and how has that kind of shaped the way that you do business?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things I really draw upon is not really just my experience. Mm-hmm. I'm from an entrepreneurial family. Mm-hmm. My father started a business in the tool and die industry, which was vastly different than marketing consulting. But I saw the trials and tribulations that he went through, and that, there were times when the economy was really bad that my parents remortgaged their home to make payroll for all these highly, highly skilled people because they didn't want to lay them off, And then when times were good, okay, you pay off that mortgage and you're able to reinvest in the business. So I have such great respect for entrepreneurs because it's in my blood and I've literally witnessed it, that I want to help people with my skills, right, to build their businesses. So that's what I really draw upon for success. And I get it. I understand companies that are, I have to invest how much money in marketing? Well, it is an investment. You have to, spend money to make money. But I'm not going to make outrageous, recommendations because I really get it, especially if it's a privately held company. It's like there's a real cost to that, not just the cost to pay for the marketing campaign, but it's the cost of everything else you couldn't do, right? So I really keep that in mind with all the recommendations that I do, that I understand my clients' pain in some cases.
It's so great to hear. I mean, there's so many either VC-backed agencies or concepts out there that offer a service that's not dedicated to the growth of the actual business. It's just to sell a product or to sell a service or to give an ideology out there. So to hear that it was built into the core of you as a child and kind of what you've seen even growing up, and you resemble that still today, shows the passion that you have, Carrie, for what you do and how you support your clients. I absolutely love that. I cut from the same cloth, you and I feel the same same way. So it's awesome to hear. I have one rapid fire question for you, and this is just off the books. One book that you would recommend to anybody listening to this, either a financial advisor, a FinTech company, or another marketer. What's something that you would recommend to get their mindset right around what is needed to be successful in today's day and age?
Yeah, the couple of them, they're kind of oldies but goodies, but I love Good to Great. It's a great book,
Yep.
And I love the fact, I love Simon Sinek as well. You can check him out. His video that was really pivotal is like, why? Get to the why. People do business with who you are, not what you sell. Get to the why, because ultimately, no matter what the products or service is, it's human beings, and you have to speak to them in a way that it resonates with them, right? And a way that it complements, their values and the reason why they want to do business with you. And if you do that well, you build a really loyal customer base.
I love that, Carrie. So everything from being a fractional CMO that sees your business from the top down in an overview of how to be successful, to making sure that you are recommending what is inside their budget and that can really grow in their business, and then being empathetic about where they stand and where they're going. Incredible overview. Thank you so much for your time. How could people find you if they're listening to this podcast and they want to get connected to you?
Yeah, go to my website. It's brigadmarketingservices.com, or you can email me at Kari Franz at brigadmarketingservices.com, or check me out on Twitter. It's just at Kari Franz.
I love that. Make sure you hit her up if you need any support. Where are you located again, Carrie?
I'm actually in Northern California.
Northern California, especially if you're local into the area and you need to connect and you need help. If you're looking for a fractional CMO, if you're looking for an opportunity to understand your business from the top down and how to grow your company in the correct way, make sure you contact Carrie. Carrie, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I'm not limited just to NorCal. I have clients globally that need to penetrate the U.S. market, or vice versa. They need to grow the U.S. market and expand globally. So give me a call.
Love that. Any other shout outs or anything else you want to mention before we close out here?
Yeah, I'm going to be on a FedEx webinar next Thursday, and you're welcome to attend. You can check out my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, I love that FedEx webinar. Make sure you check out her website and her LinkedIn profile for more information. Thank you so much again, Carrie. It was great talking to you, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kyle.